What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video going over Week 17's Thursday Night Showdown between the Browns and Jets. Not, one of the games that we desire this late in the season, with only so many primetime games left. But hopefully we get a good game. I really don't see this being an offensive game, just a very heavy defensive game. But before we get there, it's one of the things recently shared to me. I'm going to continue to do it just so you guys can see my actual results and stuff like that, and not just say that I'm giving these players out without putting my money where my mouth is. Going back to Monday's show, 3-game slate, cashed on Sunday on the main slate, the 3-game slate, missed cash by about 13, 14 points, right? Totally cold lineup, right? I tried going the opposite route on here, go the Mahomes, Rice, Kelsey stack. Obviously did not help. 37 points out of the 3. That's where I went wrong. I did good with my running backs. Did Swift and White both hit pretty good value in my opinion. AJ Brown, enough for his price, right? That's a pay up 14. It's not great at all, but we can withstand that. Wandell, high owned. Austin Hooper for the price. Ravens defense was there for me. Not a good lineup, right? Going with the risky, like you can see Mahomes is only 5% owned. Is pretty much going Lamar, Jalen Hurts on this slate. Running back, getting McCaffrey in there was a help too. Go and look McCaffrey, 28 points. That's just not the route I went. Slayton had a good game. See some other names. Zay Flowers had a really good game. Faded Pacheco on this slate, which there. I faded likely for his price point. I think he had a decent game at 4,200 as well. Faded, Philly's defense. Went with Baltimore, so just took the risk on the Kansas City stack. It obviously, as you guys can see, did not pay off, right? But it's part of the risk you do when you hit a 3-game slate like this. So now going into tonight's game, so if you guys can see at the bottom right, I have my keys for what the colors mean. As you can see, past Xavier Gibson, there's not much there. So let's get into the players we do have. Amari Cooper, questionable tonight. 42 targets, though, with Flacco through the 4 games. It's a tough matchup against one of the best, if not the best, secondary in football. Even if he is active, I don't love it on the slate, especially on DraftKings. Fanduel's maybe at the 14.5 price tag. But being the most expensive player against the Jets defense, it's just not there for me. Breece Hall, though, is a like tonight. 11,000 on DraftKings, 15 on FanDuel, second most expensive on FanDuel. 77% of the running back snaps last week, 42% of the red zone carries. Cleveland giving up 4.1 yards per carry to running back so far this season. 16 targets Breece Hall got last week. He was very close. I had him in my main lineup for the main slate. Almost got a double 100-yard bonus. He would have hit 50 plus if he would have got it. But still, the points he put up, I'm not mad about it at all. Really like him tonight in this one. I like running backs tonight. Joe Flacco, don't have as a fader just because of the Amari Cooper news we're waiting. If Cooper's there, I'm there for understanding the Flacco play on this slate. I'm okay with understanding it, right? If he's out, we're gonna need a lot out of Flacco, right? Jets have only given up 2 games with over 250 passing yards. A handful of games they haven't even allowed 100. But Joe Flacco's been balling out so far this season. This is a big test for him in that Cleveland offense. We'll see what he can gather up. It's pretty much how Joe Flacco's played. The chances he's gotten the last few years in the league, not a starting quarterback, but just pretty much a fill-in. But yeah, if Cooper's in, I'm okay with Flacco. Like I said, I understand. If Amari Cooper's out, I don't really like him as much simply for his price tag. Garrett Wilson is a like, though. Very expensive on DraftKings. FanDuel, great price you're getting Garrett Wilson on FanDuel at 11.5. That's a great price. Like, put it in perspective. you're getting. I would rather have Garrett Wilson than Trevor Siemian, right? Like that's easy, but Trevor Siemian's 2,000 more. Jerome Ford, running back, I like Jerome Ford, $500 more. And then Njoku is $500 less than Wilson. So some great prices you get on a, for the most part on the Jet side, a lower fantasy expectation slate. Cleveland, the way they've been playing, it's a higher, but against its defense, not so much. But yeah, let's get into the Trevor Siemian. Or go back to Garrett Wilson first and then Trevor Siemian, right? Okay matchup against Cleveland. Their secondary has had times to where they are the best secondary, right? Like, stat-wise, you look at everything, one of the best. Then they have times to where they're not there. They're not clicking. They're not 100% with trust and on the same page, communication. There's times where they fall off, right? Against this Jets team, though, it's going to be hard for them to not have a really good game. But Garrett Wilson, 37% of the red zone targets go to him, third in the league for percentage. Lazard possibly out, so they're going to rely on Garrett Wilson more if that is the case. As you can see by the last note, I don't love Garrett Wilson tonight against this Cleveland. Like I said, I think Cleveland secondary is going to have a good game, right? But Garrett Wilson's going to get targets, and on tonight's slate, that's what you want, is any type of volume. Consistency volume. Garrett Wilson first price, but especially on Fanduel, I really like. DraftKings, I can understand fading Garrett Wilson on DraftKings. I really can. Trevor Siemian, fade, worst PFF pass block advantage. 12 has been his highest in the 3 games. His quarterback rating, one of them was kind of split with Zach Wilson. And Cleveland, 4th lowest fantasy points to quarterback. So, very tough matchup for Trevor Siemian here. Jerome Ford, 84 on DraftKings, 12,000 on FanDuel. Really solid pricing for him there on both sides, in my opinion. I'd rather he be a little less on DraftKings to be more comfortable with it. But like I said, on this slate, you just want volume. Jets giving up in the 5th most total yards for running backs, 15 total touchdowns for running backs, which is pretty average. But with a team like Cleveland, you find a team like the Jets. For Cleveland, you find any holes that you could poke in that Jets defense. Hunt gets a majority of the red zone rushes, which is concerning for the touchdown upside of Jerome Ford. But with this being should be heavy run game, Jerome Ford is alike. David Njoku is probably my favorite pass catcher tonight as far as wide receivers and tight ends. 37 targets in 4 games of Flacco as a quarterback. Jets giving up 8 receiving touchdowns to tight ends. Jets best, if you go look at DraftKings points, best secondary when it comes to playing the wide receiver. Amari Cooper possibly out. Njoku leading the team with a 29.8% red zone target share. So David Njoku, either site is fine. FanDuel, I think he's honestly cheap on FanDuel. He should be probably 12, 5, 13 on a slate like this, but we get him at 11. Elijah Moore, fade. He can become a value on FanDuel, only on FanDuel, if Amari Cooper's out. He's not gotten a lot of volume lately, even with Flacco being the quarterback, in a very tough matchup. I'm just not willing to pay that price on a slate like this. Cleveland Browns defense on both sides, yes, love tonight. Jets, 2nd most sacks allowed. Cleveland, 6th highest pressure rate on the quarterback. 3rd most takeaways. Jets, 3rd most turnovers. So a lot to like for that Cleveland defense. Obviously missing a couple pieces there, but overall that Cleveland defense against the Jets offensive line, who's very hurt this entire season, should be a good one. Kareem Hunt, another one that I like tonight, 52 on DraftKings, 95 on FanDuel. Gets a majority of the red zone work. Like I said earlier, Jets 15 total touchdowns to running backs. Kareem Hunt then gets that touchdown upside. Could get, on a slate like this, honestly, 1 to 2 touchdowns, and that's pretty much majority of his fantasy points. Tyler Conklin, a fade. Cleveland, last 3, they have given up 10 plus total fantasy points to tight ends. We saw Evan Ingram kind of light them up. 7 targets in 2 games with Brent Ripon. Obviously, Trevor Siemian's here, so that kind of changes. But just hasn't gotten a lot of targets. Next, Dustin Hopkins is out, so we're getting Riley Patterson. Fanduel hasn't updated the price. I'm going to guess somewhere around the 85 to 9K range for Patterson tonight. DraftKings has him at 4,800, 200 more than Greg Zuerlein. Jets, top 5 red zone defense, so I'm going to target that and get kickers for Greg Zuerlein and the Jets. Jets, worst red zone offense in the league, so some opportunities for Greg Zuerlein to get some of, or most of, the Jets' points tonight. We've seen it before where he gets 10 plus points for that Jets team. Jets defense, Cleveland, most turnovers. Jets, 4th highest pressure rate. Sacks, they're in the top average of the league. On this slate, yeah, I'm probably going to get more exposure to these two defenses than I do on most slates. And then Xavier Gipson, pretty much the only value I have tonight. All these guys you could say is value, right? The two Jets backup running backs, the snap percentage is going to be split between those two. If Breece Hall's not in, it's going to be split between those two. Allen Lazard possibly out, so we'll update that right now with the right color. Allen Lazard possibly out. We'll see what that one looks like. Jason Brownlee then and Xavier Gipson get steps up. Randall Cobb's down there. We know that Jeremy Ruckert and CJ Uzama are out, so it's Tyler Conklin and a couple other. Hopefully we get to see Zach Kuntz tonight. I've been waiting to see him. He got called up to the active roster, so hopefully we get some snaps out of him. But on a slate like this, there's not a lot of value to even really like. I think you can get exposure to all these guys and not have high hopes and expectations out of what you're going to get. So, hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you guys want access to all my spreadsheets throughout all the slates, click the link for our Discord. Very cheap subscription package, especially towards the end of the year. Very cheap. We'll have a Saturday showdown sheet just like this one, and we'll have a main slate content and sheet going out this week as well. So if you guys are interested in that, like I said, just hit the subscribe button. If you guys just want access to the sheet specifically with other things, not just this sheet, but bets, props, fantasy advice, player pools, stuff like that. All that's in our Discord subscription package. So hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.